Most horror movies are fairly straightforward. Big, scary, bad thing versus a put-upon protag, spooky shenanigans in various forms occur, ideally buckets of blood and viscera splash across the screen, and then the main character comes out on top. It's cathartic and enjoyable almost every time, but there are some horror movies that like to turn the formula on its head. There are a special few where something different happens altogether. There are some horror movies where all the blood, all the violence, all the scares mean nothing at all. Imagine that. The most horrifying thing of all is when suffering means nothing at all. That was a bit much for an intro, let's just get onto the list. I'm Tilly from What Culture Horror, and these are 10 horror movies where nobody wins. Number 10. The Lighthouse. Robert Eggers has proven himself to be one of the most exciting horror directors at the moment, with his sophomore effort, The Lighthouse, being a terrifying and intriguing take on folk horror. It's a relatively simple concept. Two wickies, Winslow and Thomas, are tasked with maintaining an isolated lighthouse with only each other for company. It's a masterclass in building tension, with the two leads giving utterly fantastic performances. But how to end such a tale of madness, betrayal and mermaids? Well, Eggers decided to keep the audience guessing. Overcome with an insatiable need to look into the light, Winslow kills Thomas and ascends the steps, expecting something, anything from looking into the heart of the structure. The camera holds, watching as he convulses with manic laughter while the light looks like it's burning him alive. Then he slips, tumbles down the steps, and the film draws to a close with his naked body being picked apart by seagulls. Both men were driven mad with their hunger for what exactly? It isn't clear what the lighthouse represents, but it slowly picks apart their minds until they're driven to violence. The two fought for authority over the other throughout the film, but their power struggle meant nothing before the mighty and unknowable forces that lurked out at sea. Number 9. Saw 3. Saw 3 feels like a culmination of all of John Kramer's plotting and scheming, as in this film he is on his deathbed. Amanda Young seems primed and ready to take on the mantle of Jigsaw, and a more or less standard trap subplot runs its course in the background, or so it seems. As it turns out, this is Kramer's magnum opus, to test Amanda one final time and in what may be his cruelest trap yet. Amanda has been cheating in her own games, making sure there is no way her victims can survive, which goes against the whole ethos of Jigsaw, although let's not pretend John actually has any real morals. By the film's end, Jigsaw's little plan sees himself, Amanda, and the two secondary protagonists killed. In a grander sense, that also means his whole philosophy falls apart. Amanda was not changed for the better after surviving her trap, only did Jigsaw lose his life, but all of the other deaths that came before were for a wholly empty purpose. Number 8. The Others. The early 2000s were a bit of a weird time for Hollywood horror movies, caught between remakes and whatever the hell 13 Ghosts was trying out. The Others was a chilling breath of fresh air. The Others tells the tale of Grace, a woman who is awaiting the return of her husband who left to go and fight in the Second World War. Not only did he leave her, but their two children, and the three of them now live in an enormous empty mansion. Or at least it's supposedly empty. The film slowly gets more claustrophobic, as the children cannot leave due to a rare medical condition that makes them averse to sunlight. Grace's religious ideals clash with her children's erratic behaviour when they tell her there is someone or something in the house with them. Yet, in a shocking twist, it is revealed that they are in fact the ghosts, as she smothered her two children and then shot herself after going mad due to the isolation. Grace has to accept what she has done, and even with their questions answered, it seems that this house is where they will remain forever. Number 7. Martyrs. If you aren't aware of this French endurance test of a movie, I am deeply envious and wish I could be you. Martyrs is, to put it bluntly, gnarly as hell and features just about every method of torture you can think of. There is supposedly a reason to it though, as the mysterious group who are the big baddies of the flick are pushing innocent people to the most physical extremes in order to get a glimpse into the afterlife, or something. Basically, one girl escapes their clutches as a kid and is understandably horribly traumatized. Years later, she gorily exacts her revenge, then ends her own life. Her childhood best friend is then kidnapped by said group, and the rest of the film is just torture scenes. Si jolie! The leader of the organization, known only as Mademoiselle, asks her latest victim, who was skinned alive, what she saw in the afterlife. The girl tells her, and then succumbs to her injuries. Rather than sharing the information with her sadistic besties, Madame chooses to take the secret to her grave. Literally, what was the point in any of that? Number 6. Possum. Oh, Possum, you dreary, depressing, skin-crawling masterpiece, you. This underrated gem is quiet, melancholic, and leaves you with a very icky feeling by the time the credits roll. The audience watches as Philip, a lonely and slightly off-putting man, trying his best to get rid of a puppet after he returns to his childhood home. We aren't sure why he has decided to come home, we don't know why his creepy uncle is living in the house, and we don't know why the hell that puppet is so goddamn creepy. We have no idea where the film is going, or what it means, to be honest. honest, until the final few minutes of the film. It's revealed that Uncle Morris is sort of responsible for the whole thing. Philip's trauma, a missing boy who vanished at the start of the film, and the whole reason why that puppet even exists. But then again, given Philip's mental state, we don't know if any of this actually happened at all. The final shot of the film is just Philip staring off into the distance, the head of the puppet in his arms. He hasn't let go, and given everything that was implied in the film, it's hard to blame him. Number 5. The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is one of those films that no matter how many times you watch it, you can't help but just be bowled over again and again by how damn good it is. There is very little point in me introducing the film, as it is so well known by this point, but if you have taken up residence under a rock and don't know about this horror legend, also I need to fill the runtime for this video, then here is a quick rundown. An isolated research group in the Antarctic stumble across something frozen in the ice, thaw it out, and then all hell breaks loose, as the titular Thing turns out to be a shapeshifting alien hell-bent on assimilating and killing every last member of the team. One of the most contentious elements of The Thing is the ending, as it is unclear who out of MacReady and Childs is the alien entity, or if neither of them are and they're doomed to freeze in the Arctic wastes. This discourse has gone on for decades, but whatever the answer may be, it's grim either way. Whatever your stance is, the monster and survivors have both lost. They are left to perish in the freezing cold with no hope of rescue. Even if they're both human and the alien was killed, that's a hell of a nasty way to go. Number 4. Mother. Darren Aronofsky films are a bit like Marmite. They either make you viscerally uncomfortable, or you are an unhinged monster. Mother is an expansive tale of biblical allegories, the trauma of motherhood, environmentalism, and is also an introvert's worst nightmare. As Jennifer Lawrence's character is increasingly tormented by a world that makes less and less sense with each passing moment, it becomes clear that this is a heightened and exaggerated version of our own world. By the end, the idyllic home is turned into a blazing hellscape filled with violent devotees of Javier Bardem's him, leading Mother to set the house alight with everyone in it. Yet as she dies, he simply takes her heart out and grows a new woman. The end of the film mirroring exactly the opening. It's pretty heavy-handed as far as allegories go, but it drives home the idea that our greed will destroy our planet one day. As for the film, considering pretty much everyone died except for him, that counts as a pretty massive loss, right? Number 3. Mad God. Oh, you thought I was done with the pretentious metaphors. Okay. Mad God is a brilliant, disgusting, terrifying work of art that took years to make. Created by master puppeteer Phil Tippett, the film vaguely explores the idea presented in the title. What if we lived in a world that was created by something truly insane? We watch as various characters try to fix, overcome, or understand the fleshy and industrial world around them, only to be met with progressively weirder and nastier fates. There's a particularly gross scene that feels like something from House of a Thousand Corpses on steroids involving a surgeon and a weird larvae baby. This film really isn't like anything you've seen before. Similarly to Mother, it ends with a beginning, as a clock literally rewinds before our eyes as if to imply this story has been told millions, if not billions of times, meaning all the bizarre and gross things we have just witnessed may repeat for all time. And given how unpleasant this world is, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. Number 2. The Wicker Man. Sergeant Howie is investigating the case of a missing girl on the isolated Scottish island of Summerisle and finds the locals to be a little bit strange. As a staunchly Christian man, their pagan beliefs are deeply jarring to him, particularly public fun and funky time, and children being taught the more grown-up associations of the maypole. But all the islanders simply denied the girl existed, which makes Howie all the more suspicious. The film builds and builds until Howie confronts the islanders during a ritual which he believes Rowan will be sacrificed in. But the girl was never the intended sacrifice. Howie himself was. He is bundled into an enormous wicker man and the effigy is set ablaze. Howie dies praying, but his god does not come to save him. Both he and his belief loses. Yet the islanders aren't the victors either. The whole reason they're sacrificing Howie is due to a previous crop failure, and now they are trying to appease their own gods, but there is no way of knowing if this is a success. How many have died on that island? And if the cult continues to practice, how many more will too? Number 1. Evil Dead 2. The Deadites might be back in business with the fantastic Evil Dead Rise, but let's take it back to what most fans of the Evil Dead franchise consider to be the best one. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2 is a glorious romp of slapstick brilliance, hyperkinetic camera work, gnarly gore, and Ash Williams at his finest. despite how much sequel reimagining of its far more horrific predecessor. But the fact that Ash goes through the same ordeal twice does sour the hilarity, but it's the ending that's the real stinger. Having thought he vanquished the evil forces despite losing literally everyone in his life, a portal opens up and sucks Ash back to medieval England circa 1300 AD. Then a winged deadite attacks and Ash easily kills it, but you get the sinking realization that Ash never defeated evil. The things summoned from the Necronomicon still lurk and terrorize the living, meaning that everything Ash just went through was completely in vain. But of course the Deadites haven't won either. Ash is only just getting started, and you can't help but feel even just a tiny bit sorry for the undead bastards now. And that's our list. What other horror movies were just a big old kick in the teeth? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and swing on by again to catch more creepy content. I've been Tilly and this has been What Culture. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.